Welcome. Oh, you know what I didn't do before? I wanted to make sure I pronounce your last name right because I don't know how to say it, to be honest with you.
It's Heyd. Hey with a D.
Hey, hey,
Exactly.
hey, right. Yes, okay. So it is my honor this afternoon to have as a very special guest on the 2.0 Grandma's podcast, Miss Cynthia Heyd. And I'm
Yes.
gonna hang on. You know, I'm a Southern girl, so I'm gonna drag that hey out a little bit. Okay.
I love that.
Anyway, so let me tell you a little bit about who I am, why we're doing this. So I am Dr. Marsha McLean, but I like to be called Dr. Marsha because it's just a lot friendlier. And again, it says something about, yes, I got a little education, but guess what? I still like to have fun. Okay. But on the 2.0 Grandma podcast, what we do is we like to love to share these untold stories about grandmas who are doing fantastic things, phenomenal things in this part of their lives. I don't want to say it's the second chapter. I don't want to say it's the second act, because for some of us, it's just maybe the next stage. It is just, I like to call it the 2.0 version. Of our lives. So maybe we did something totally different in our 1.0 version, but like technology, we just keep getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some glitches, but it's called life. But we back up and we do it again. Yes. So I love to meet grandmas who are breaking those stereotypes, like you said. And I love how you said changing the narrative around aging. And so that's what we're doing too. So I'm so delighted to have you on the show. And I look forward to hearing how you have challenged some of those outdated stereotypes, because I am all about it. Okay. And how
Okay.
you're celebrating your midlife. And I'm hoping that, as I read through your bio, I'm like, wow, we should do some things together. So I'm hoping your twin will want to do some things with Grandma's 2.0 too, because for your Twinagers. So I just want to hear all about what you're doing. But first, Cynthia,
Yes.
I always like to ask, share a little bit about your background about being a grandma first before we get into
Yeah.
your platform.
Yes. Well, and that's what I think I was so excited when you first reached out because, again, I'm going to leap into the changing the narrative. Like, when people think or know that you're a grandma, they think you're old, and it's like,
Right.
I'm not old. I'm not an
Right.
old grandma. But I'm a pretty new grandma. My granddaughter is about 2.5.
Oh, wow.
And I'm very, very involved. I just absolutely love every second and every minute of it. Yeah, just that circle of life and the emotional punch when that little girl came into the world was just, something I was not prepared for and overwhelmed with, like, just pure joy. Like,
Yes.
I
There's
can't even
nothing like
describe
it.
it.
I know
There's
there's nothing
like
like it. Right.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky because my daughter and her husband, they live in the same city. So we do get to see
Ooh,
them quite
nice.
often, which is
Yes.
very nice. And we often will take her for a weekend, or,
Ooh.
they're going away on a trip. We'll take her while mommy and daddy are away. So we're very lucky and blessed that, at this stage of my life, I still have health and energy and all those good things to be able to enjoy her. And it's just, we all talk about these other chapters in our lives and things that we're doing. And while they're all super exciting, every once in a while, I just go, oh my gosh, this is what I was born for.
Right. This is the beautiful piece right here.
It is a beautiful piece. So yeah. So I love it. I mean, I think, it's, it is a pure blessing to have that in your life.
Yes,
Not everybody gets to experience it. And I just love it and hope that my relationship with my granddaughter will continue to grow and thrive, and we'll be able to, be in each other's lives in a really meaningful way for the rest of my days.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That is my wish for you, Cynthia,
Yeah.
because I tell you, it is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. Oh my God. I had no idea. And my mom used to say, oh, you don't know any kind of love
Yeah.
until you know grandparents' love. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Because we would say, Mom, you let them do everything. Why you let them do?
Yeah.
Those are my grandkids. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
but we were your kids. You didn't let us get away with anything, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But it's also, you've had your earned wisdom and you've seen everything. Well, maybe not everything, but you've seen a lot in life. So, you just want to, I think we're maybe able to distill down to the important little small moments, maybe a little quicker than when you're the parent and trying to manage it all, So there is that sort of like ability to see it and react to it a little bit differently,
Yeah, and it is, oh my God, it is the most rewarding when they can, like so in the beginning, it's just you talking, and them just listening, and then you look in their eyes, and and I hate to say it, and I will never repeat this, but they say that the first one is the special one, but I have 7 now, and I've had the blessing of engaging with all of them, at different times, but when they were younger and all of that. And when they would come over, when the youngest one, so the oldest one is 21, the youngest one is 3.
Oh, yeah.
And all those in between, I had the pleasure of getting to know each one of them because they weren't all together. They were, and I have 3 children. And so 2 sons who had their children first, and my daughter's the youngest. So she's the mom of the 3-year-old. And I tell you, those experiences have been different for each one, a lot of fun for each one, a lot of fun together. Because
Yes, I
we've done
imagine.
what my husband and I do these, we used to do these we call them grand trips, grand vacations with them during the summer when they were all out of school. And oh my God, we had so much fun. Oh my God, we had
That
so much
sounds
fun with it.
great.
It was just us, not the parents. And of course, we let them get whatever they want to in the store. And we just had such a good time.
Yeah.
And we would rent an Airbnb, and I love that time. And so I am just so happy that I've had that opportunity to get to know each one of them, to spend some time with each one of them separately, and had the time to spend with all of them together. I mean, I feel very, very, very blessed. Now, the 3-year-old, now that brought on a whole new, I tell you. Yeah, and the 3-year-old is a boy. So we have 5 boys and 2 girls, grands.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, that's amazing. It really is. And the oldest one is a boy. The youngest one is a boy. The 2 girls fall somewhere in the middle. The knee grandbaby, I don't know if there's such a thing, but you know what I mean when I say that, is a girl. So and so I had that time about, she's 12 now. So I had that time from the 3 to 12 to just spend with her as the baby. So I had that time. I was lucky there too. So I've just been, I feel really blessed. I've had the time to be with all of them. And like I said, separately and as a group. So I understand how you feel. And I know that is the best thing since sliced bread. The best. I think that's even better than sliced bread. But right.
I know. Well, I'm envious. I would like more than one. I'm waiting.
Right. I understand. Right. Come on, people. Let's get with the program.
Let's just get going.
I know. So that is such a joy. You're right. The joy that they bring is second to none. I mean, I can't think of anything else that's better. And just to see their little eyes light up. And now we do FaceTime with the 3-year-old. And oh my God.
Yeah, it's so cute.
And I told my daughter, when he was about 1.5, I said, I can't wait for him to want to call me. It's like I'm always pursuing him. I feel like the woman always pursuing the man. I want to talk to him every day, all day, right?
Yeah. We always have fun when I do get a call from her every once in a while, or when she's scheduled to come over and we're going to look after her. She'll come in the front door with mommy and daddy, and she'll turn to them and go, bye.
Right. I got this. Right.
And I'm like, see you later.
Right. It is so much fun. And and you're right about the health, being in good health so you can really enjoy.
Yeah.
because I know there's some grandparents. Like I have a friend, and he is 70 something,
Yeah.
and he says, I want another grandchild, but guess what? If I have another, I won't be able to get down on the floor. I won't be able to do all these things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. And so
Yeah.
there are advantages, I guess, to having, my oldest son, they had their first child. They were like 22, maybe something like that.
Oh,
So
really?
that was so young. And so that was beautiful but, you know, for me, I didn't really have my kids until I was 25. So you see what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah, and it was a little bit, so I was really worried about that because my sister
Yeah.
and my brothers and all, they had their grandkids a lot earlier, and they would always tease me, "You don't have any grand, what's going on with you?" And I'm like, wait a minute now,
Yeah.
I felt like I did things the right way. I had
Yeah.
my kids after I got out of college, not while
Yeah.
or not in high school. So
Yeah.
you just never know. But when you think about the age thing, it does
Yeah.
sometimes make a
Yeah.
difference.
It
So,
does. It
but
does.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I am excited for you and hope
Mhm.
that you will get more.
Yes.
Fingers
Thank you.
crossed. Yes. I hope that you will get more. Yes, fingers are crossed for you. So tell me now,
Yeah.
how did you end up thinking about and getting into this? And I love your story about, is it cons or cans? I know it's said a
Yeah.
couple different ways, but I
Yeah.
love that story. So you were out there
Yeah.
partying with 20-year-olds and then said, wait a minute, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that, please.
Well, I guess, the story in a nutshell is, in my career, working my way up the corporate ladder, if you will,
Uh-huh.
and, having a great career and liking my job and doing all the right things, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for me, there was this one moment where I found myself, as you say, in Cannes. So
Uh-huh.
Cannes,
Uh-huh.
France,
Uh-huh.
I work in advertising and marketing. So there's this big advertising and marketing show that goes on every year in the south of France, and everybody wants to be there. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
I want to be there. I'm not even in
yeah,
advertising, right?
I'm not gonna lie. I had a lot of years of fun going there. It's a big conference, so you learn a lot, you network a lot,
Mm,
and you
mm,
party a lot. Oh my God.
mm, mm,
And a lot of your networking happens, into the wee hours, let's just say,
mm-hmm,
because it's
mm-hmm,
a global conference. So you're meeting people that do the same thing as you from all over the world. So it's
mm-hmm.
really
Oh,
quite
wow.
special. And, I would go, not every year because it was a bit of a perk or a coup to be able to get a ticket. They're very expensive. You got to have a company that wants to send you.
Mm,
And the last time I went, I was in my early 50s in a very senior role in the company that I worked for. And I went over and I don't know, just something hit. Like I had this switch that went off, and like literally at 2 a.m. as I was like in a bar with all these people and there's dancing and partying and all of that. And I just went, what am I doing? Why am I
mm,
here? Because it got muddled into all kinds of different feelings around imposter syndrome, like you have to prove
mm.
yourself over and
Yes,
over and over again and especially as women. I feel like as
yes.
women, we have to quite often. And, as the new cohort of the favorites of the month or the new, creative stars, if you will, were there. It's like, you had to sort of prove yourself to them all over again. And I just started really thinking about it and going like, I'm doing these things that are on the one hand really fun, that I had a lot of fun with in my earlier career, but why am I doing them now and feeling like I have to do them and I have to keep up with this crowd that is 20 and 30 years old and I'm in my 50s and I just don't have the same energy, but also drive to do that. It's like,
Right,
why can't my
right.
accomplishments speak for
Because
themselves?
themselves.
So
Hello.
so I just started doing a whole lot of kind of questioning of what I was doing and where I was at with my career and my life, and realized at that point in time that I was really suffering from internal ageism. It really
Mm,
was, my inner self telling me I had to do all this when, and when I probably really didn't need to.
Mhm,
So that was
mhm.
sort of a turning point for me. And I came back from that trip and I thought, this aging thing, there's the, how it affects you, physically, how it affects
Mhm.
you emotionally, how it affects you, in your professional life, in your
Yes.
personal life. And I just started really like digging into that and going, there's something wrong here. There's
Mm.
something fundamentally wrong with how society perceives aging as this
Yes.
steady decline, that everything
Mhm,
is going to stop working the way it should be working, and you're never going to be as good as you were or as fast as you were, or whatever the case may be.
mhm,
And that's a little bit of where my pivot point was, and how
mhm.
I came together with my twin sister.
I love the
um,
idea of twins. I
yeah.
mean, everybody loves twins, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves twins. So, but it's like you have a
Yeah.
soulmate for the rest of your days, right?
Yes, for
I mean,
sure.
that's how we see it on the
Absolutely.
outside anyway. I don't know how it really is, but that's how I see it on the
Oh, no,
outside.
there's a huge amount of truth in that.
Mhm,
You've
mhm,
got somebody
mhm.
you've grown up with from,
Yes,
inside the womb till today.
yes, yes, yes.
The bond is quite special and different
Mhm, mhm.
than others. But
Let
anyway,
me ask
that's it.
this before
Yeah,
you
go
go
ahead.
move on. One more question about your sister.
Mhm.
Now is she your grandma as well?
No, she's not.
Oh, I was gonna say,
No,
"Ooh, we
not
could do
yet.
a story on twin grandmas," but anyway, go
I
ahead.
know. Yeah. No, not yet. She's living through my granddaughter at the moment. But we
Okay.
also have this theory. We actually have this theory that because we share so much DNA, that
Uh-huh.
actually her kids are my half kids and my kids are
Right,
her half kids. So therefore my grandchild is probably a quarter her grandchild.
half grandchild, right, a quarter, I like that, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
I like that, I love that theory, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, okay, so and that
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense because,
Yeah.
right, because you share
Totally.
everything, so yes, of course, you would share the
Yeah.
grandkids too. Okay, so from that, now you
Yeah.
created your own agency, so tell us
Yeah.
about the Deli. I love the name, by the way.
Yeah, well, and that was like, when I went to, like, everything really changed after I came back from Cannes. It really was a pivotal point, and I
Mhm,
was working for others, and I was feeling very much, there was absolutely ageism within the agency I worked at. I could feel my voice being a little bit diminished.
mhm, mhm,
My role was changing, all that kind of stuff, and I've never been one to sort of sit back and go, "Yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens here."
mhm,
So
mhm,
I sort of, took some time, not a lot, because it hit me pretty hard that I needed to make a change, and I went out and I started out on my own. So I started the Deli production agency, um, after leaving that company,
mhm,
and built it up. It's been going 8 years. It's had a couple of different name iterations along the way, but,
mhm, mhm,
yeah, I'm still, working quite a bit there.
mhm.
I'm on my exit strategy, let's say, and towards retirement and doing more with Twinagers than
Okay.
the Deli. But it was a remarkable experience to start that company, and I started it when I was 55.
Oh, wow.
So
Hmm.
anybody that says you can't start something after
Right.
50,
That's
forget it.
exactly
Like,
right.
it was the best thing it's one of
Mm.
the best things I ever did,
Mhm.
for sure,
Mm,
was doing
mm,
that and using my experience to build something that is now got, like, staff and
mhm.
all those good things, and I'm very proud
Mm,
of it,
mm.
and it
And
will live on after I go.
yes, 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 and that's the beauty of building something. You're leaving a
Yes.
legacy for
Mhm.
others to follow and to hopefully take care of, right?
That's right,
And
that's right.
nurture and maybe take to the next level or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And let me ask this about your organization, the Deli.
Yeah.
So are some of your customers, clients, are they in the aging arena? I like to call that space.
No, they're not
Oh,
actually, and they
wow.
should be. They should be.
Yeah.
I talk about it a lot because one of the things that and I don't know how other industries stack up, although I have an idea in some industries, whether experience maps to or age maps to experience. In the industry I'm in, it's very youth oriented. It is a very,
Well,
very
that's
young
easy to
industry.
see in commercials,
Yes.
in the print ads,
Yep.
magazines, it's very
Yep.
easy to see. It's always been that way. But I
Yep.
have to say, I have
Mhm.
noticed since I've been doing this work in this space,
Yep.
I've noticed things are somewhat changing.
Yes, I
Very
believe so
slowly,
too.
very,
Yep.
very minimal, but they are
Yep.
changing because I can remember when I first started Grandma's 2.0, and it's been about almost 3 years now,
Mhm.
right? And of course, I just started, doing some webinars and things like that online, getting some friends together and stuff like that. Very small, but I know, and when we were trying to build my website, I could not find pictures of women who were aging but were not decrepit. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
difference.
Yes, there
There's
is.
a difference. And
Yeah.
so, youthful looking women who may be aging, you
Mhm.
couldn't find that. So then, okay, is it the keywords? What's happening here? That, that we can't find stock images of this, right?
Yeah.
And so that was an issue. And then even commercials,
Yeah.
right? On TV, everybody was young and
Yeah.
20 something, and that was it, or
Yeah.
younger. And made to look 20 something. So, I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about it, it's very dysfunctional, in my opinion.
Well, and I don't disagree, and I also do think that the needle is moving just a little
Yes,
bit.
just a little bit.
But
Yes.
in that industry, it's very slow. Like, I'll tell this one
Mhm,
story, and I was horrified by it. We got this one because our work is very project-based. So
mhm,
we got
mhm,
this one query in from a financial institution that wanted to do a campaign around their small business services. So they wanted to profile and highlight a whole bunch of small businesses and get like testimonials from them. And anyway, it was a very, very kind of creative campaign. And the casting process was put out to, a professional casting company, which was charged with going and finding people in the city that had started new businesses that would like to talk about, their challenges and startups and blah, 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 blah.
mhm, mhm.
So we got this query and they'd already done the casting, and our query was to actually go out and shoot the ads. But the casting portfolio was sent to me going, we did this casting, we talked to over 100 people or however many people, a lot of people, and here's our short list of 10 people that we want to now narrow down to 3. And I went, great. So I looked at these 10 people. There was nobody over the age of like 35, maybe 40.
Mm, mm,
And I sort of went back and said, well, don't you want to like show a diversity of age here? Like, starting a business isn't just for 20-year-olds or 30-year
right.
olds, where's the 40, 50, 60-year olds that are doing
Mhm,
this?
mhm,
Anyway, that was a little shocking to me. And we ended up doing the project, but they didn't highlight anybody of any
mm.
experience doing that. And I thought that was a real miss, and I think that's
Yes.
sort of indicative of what's going on in that industry.
Mhm, mhm.
It's starting to change a little bit, but they've got a long way to go.
Yeah, well, that I see that as well, and things like, I think the Golden Bachelor, and I think
Yes,
now they're going to do the Golden Bachelorette, if I'm not mistaken. And
they've done that
those
already.
things,
Yeah.
okay, so those things kind of will change,
Hmm. Yep.
a little bit. Will change the horizon a little bit,
Yeah.
because reality TV shows are a big hit. They're here to stay. I don't see them going anywhere. And
Yeah.
so as a result, they kind of dictate, culture, what happens in the world.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that, I think, is one thing. Now, how they do it may not be the best way, but it is a thing that will kind of, like you said, move the needle a little bit. I
Yeah.
even noticed commercials, like even at was it the Super Bowl commercial with Meg Ryan and what's his name, Billy?
Oh
No, no,
yeah.
no, Meg
Billy
Ryan and
Crystal.
Billy
Yeah.
Crystal. Yeah,
Yeah.
that that little things like that will
Yeah.
change and make people
Yeah.
think, oh, well, maybe we do need to have. And I even noticed a Dove commercial,
Mm-hmm.
right, would had
Yeah.
women of different ages and diverse
Yes.
age, diverse races, cultures. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so things
Yeah.
are changing a little bit, I noticed, but not quick
Yes.
enough,
Yeah. Well, and
you
there's
know.
also a lot in, as you say, in pop culture. There's, I did a review on a show that Pamela Anderson did, her latest movie, The Last Showgirl,
Mm-hmm.
which was starred Pamela Anderson and Jamie Lee Curtis as
Mm-hmm.
the lead, and
Mm-hmm.
fantastic exploration on what happens. A little bit like my Can story, to be honest. A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She was a showgirl, and the show was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about how she dealt with that and
Mm-hmm.
how she would, try to move on and make something of her life. And it was really quite interesting. Jamie Lee
Mm-hmm.
Curtis was played a pivotal role in that too. And then there's like another reality show called The Later Daters. I don't know if you've seen
Yes,
that
I've seen
one.
that. Yes, I have. Because I
That
make
was
it a
pretty
point.
fun.
I make it a point to see those kinds of things that are happening because, like I said, I want to know. I want to, for my own, for what I'm doing with Grandma's 2.0, I want to know. I call it all research, right? And
Yep.
I look for movies like the new movie I noticed on Netflix, The Man on the Inside, where the man is
Yes.
Dan, what is his name? Ted Danson.
The
It's so
dancing.
funny.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so funny where he's infiltrated into a senior citizen community or something.
Home.
But
Yeah.
those kinds of things I think
Yeah.
are changing things around us a little bit too. So,
Yeah. For
but
sure.
I'm
Well,
excited about that. But now
yeah.
let's move on and let's talk about Twinagers.
Yes. So Twinagers started for me really during the pandemic. You know how
Ah,
we were all in our
yes,
bubbles, right?
yes, yes.
Um, and I was obviously in a bubble with my twin sister.
Right.
Um, and we just started comparing stories. I mean, obviously we're very close. We talk about everything. So things like my Can story and things like she had been layered out at her job and thought that was a good thing, and then realized very quickly that it was not necessarily what she wanted, and then didn't
Mm-hmm,
know what she wanted to do. And
mm-hmm,
anyway, we had all these different experiences, and we realized, even though we were in completely different industries, because she was in the financial industry, our experiences were quite similar when it came
mm-hmm,
to aging. And
mm-hmm.
we just started
Yeah, because
like,
financial agency, those are young, yeah, folks too. When you
yeah,
think about, those stock market folks, and yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So we just started talking about it. And we said, well, what could we do? So that's where, kind of Twinagers came from, was
yeah.
a desire on both of our parts to sort of speak out and say, you know what, this whole negative narrative around
Mm-hmm,
aging, what can we do? How can we put ourselves out there to be
mm-hmm,
more of a positive influence and demonstrate that you can still contribute, you can still be
mm-hmm,
vibrant, you can still exist on platforms that are not only for young people.
mm-hmm,
And you can still, have those conversations and those meaningful conversations that should be happening, and normalize this thing called aging. So
yes.
that's where it started, and we've been at it for a little bit more than a year and a half, so it's still pretty new,
Uh-huh.
but we're loving it and just starting
Yes,
to, get lots of engagement and meeting incredible people, and yourself included,
yes,
that all have a desire to talk about it, because
yes,
it's like, I always say, as women, we've sort of, hit against so many taboos, like, no
yes,
one ever used to talk about periods, never,
yes, yes. You can't even
menopause
talk
never
about
used to be, yeah, talked
exactly
about. It's
right.
mainstream. So why can't we talk about aging the same way
Mm-hmm,
and make it a
mm-hmm.
normal thing that people don't have to be afraid of, and that
Or
the next
embarrassed
generation will.
by, or ashamed
Exactly.
of, because
Yeah.
women, we will stay in the house And I'm
Yeah.
like, because one of my, I was going on a trip, and I was about to rent a car. I think it was one of our grand trips, as a matter of fact. And so I was at the rental car place, and the girl said, "Well, what's your name?" And I know a lot of people around. I didn't want to give out all my information, so I put my card on the. She says, "Grandma's 2.0. What is that about?" And I started telling her, and she said, "Oh, my mom needs you because my mom thinks her life is over. She needs to just stay in the house now." And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yes." She said, "And I don't know. We can't seem to get her out. All she wants to do is sit in the house and watch the soap operas and things like that." And I said, "Well, have her call me or give me her number if you feel comfortable. I'll call her. You never know. Maybe we can hang out or something. This is local." Right. And I said, well, you know what? There are a lot of women out there that are like that, or they believe that they don't have to take care of themselves anymore. They don't need to put on makeup. They don't need. And then I noticed even yesterday, there was somebody on Facebook that said, what was the name? Some girl said, "Oh, I started this club," and it's like, I don't care. It's the I don't care club anymore. I don't care.
Yes.
I'm not going to put on makeup. And I said, "Really, girl, this is against everything I'm talking about." So he thought it was funny that she said that. I don't need to put on a bra. I was like, I beg to differ, right? So, but there is this attitude out here. Sometimes as women, we give up after a certain age, and we think, okay, I've had my turn. My life is over. Now all I'm going to do is this. Well, I say no to that. I'm talking about we're dispelling those myths. That is not what we need to do. And we still need to take care of ourselves. And we do want to change this narrative with aging. We want to make it what we want it to be. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. And let's challenge these stereotypes. Yes.
Exactly.
We are not accepting that. So tell me some of the things that you guys have done.
Well, I think, primarily what we try to do is just talk about issues, or just like anything from a simple day-to-day thing to a bigger topic like ageism, for example. And we try to talk about that on our social platforms. So we're on Instagram primarily. We're on TikTok too, but that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Right.
And, what we're trying to do is just, get the conversation going, and we've also started to work a little bit with brands. So we try to get out there and not necessarily be one of those influencers that you see that promote anything. It's not about that. It's more about, is there something that we want to talk about that aligns with our mission, that it might be of interest to our audience, right? So, it's not about doing this is the best, skin cream, every week. But we talked about one that was all about clean beauty, and what goes on your skin goes in your body, right? So, there has to be something that is able to be framed by the lens of, is this good as we age, right? And then open up the conversation. So we're doing a little bit of that. We've been doing some speaking on some panels. And that's been really, really interesting. Mostly at women's, mostly at like a wellness event where we're talking about aging in the same way that people are talking about menopause. So you're talking about all the good bits and the ugly bits and all the bits in between, and just having a real conversation about them. Again, to normalize some of the things that happen as we age as, something that's going to happen to everybody, and might as well talk about it.
Yes. You're right. It's going to happen to everybody at some point. But how you react to it, how you accept it is the difference, right?
That's right.
So, when I first started this work, people would say, "Well, you don't look like a grandma. You don't act like a grandma."
Yeah.
And so I said, "So what does a grandma look like and act like?" Right. And so right there, that is saying to me that people have this idea of what we're supposed to look like, how we're supposed to dress.
Yes.
how we're supposed to behave ourselves. And I remember I was in Washington, D.C. I was living there at the time, and I had a little Mini Cooper convertible, right? And my hair was blonde, and my convertible top was down, and I had my sunnies on, and I was just, driving around town having a good time. And so these ladies said, "Oh, I want to be like you when I grow up." And I said, "Honey, I'm probably older than you, right?" And she said, "No, you're not." I said, "Yeah, I'm a grandma." "You're not a grandma," she said. I said,
Yeah, that's impossible.
right. So we started talking about that, right? And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, people have this idea about grandmas that we're supposed to be a certain way, and that is not true." I
Yeah.
said, and as a matter of fact, when I started doing my research, grandmas are younger these days than ever before. I mean, there's some as young as 30 something, right? And
Wow.
I interviewed a girl recently in my season 3 here. And I was like, and she said she was a grandma at 30, I want to say 38. I was like,
Wow.
wow. Yeah, I wasn't ready. I wouldn't have been ready to accept that at that point. But anyway, it would have been like, no. But anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
grandmas are younger. I did some research, looked at AARP, what they had to say about, grandparents and how young and, what the age range was and all that. But yeah, there are grandparents that are much younger today. And all of that. And then we're living longer. We're living
Yes.
healthier than ever before. So of course that plays into the idea too, because what happens is you may be a certain age, but you may look this age, but you might be 10 years older than that.
Yeah.
Right. And so people get a little confused. I was talking to a friend on the phone earlier, and she said she was buying cigarettes. And I don't smoke cigarettes, but she was buying cigarettes. And she said the girl carded her. And she said, and I said, well, she said, "Girl, I'm old enough to be your grandma," is what she said to the person that carded her at the store. And I said, but that's a compliment, girl, because she's asking you for your ID and you're 60. She's saying to you, you don't look 60. You look like you might be. I said, so take that as a compliment and don't harass that child about the fact that she carded you. That's a compliment. And but there are people that look like that just do not look their age, and so therefore people will assume that you're not a grandma. But why does a grandma need to look old and decrepit?
That's right. That's right.
We don't need to. We don't need to. Who says that that's the rule?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So like you say, we're changing the narrative, we're changing those stereotypes, and
Yeah.
we are celebrating the fact that, guess what,
Yeah.
we have lived this long and we can tell the story.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was more mainstream and,
Mhm.
part of our culture in North America, that the respect of
Mhm.
getting older is more ingrained. I'm not sure it's there. There's pockets of it, but it's
Mhm.
not like in other cultures where
Right.
there is a real respect built in.
Yes, I
Yeah.
noticed that as well, and that's another thing that I say. I said I noticed in a lot of other cultures, there's a respect for the elderly, but in our culture, there is not.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
go somewhere and sit down, grandma, grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa, you can't do that. And then the children start telling you what to do.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's another thing that happens. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's very interesting. Now, I would love to think of a way that we could collaborate. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. We should put our heads together on that one.
Yeah, because I think it would be wonderful to talk about this. I don't know what else to do, but there's things that I think that we could possibly do together. I also so I try to ground everything that I do, just an FYI, and maybe this is where your sister could come in too. Focus around these areas of wellness. So there's this theory called 8 dimensions of wellness, and one of them is financial wellness.
Yep.
Another one, of course, emotional, social, intellectual, spiritual, physical, blah, 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 blah. But I love the idea that, she says she was in the financial area, that area. So maybe there's a way for us to maybe an opportunity for me to talk with her about that as well. So I've devoted, like, this month we do this month we do that. And April, of course, is Financial Literacy Month. So I would love, but maybe in the future we could have her on as a guest as well.
Yeah, because it's interesting because, one of the topics that we get a lot of traction around or engagement around is those that are leading up to or have just retired.
Right.
because it's such a huge transition in life that
Mhm.
I don't know that certainly from what I see, corporations don't help you manage to retirement very well. Like,
Mhm.
that's not
Mhm.
on their radar or within their purview to do. But the thinking around how to retire, when to retire, from a financial point of view and an emotional point of view and a
Mhm.
social point of view, because
Mhm.
your identity is attached to your job very often, right?
Yes. Yes, it
Um,
is.
Anyway, it's I like the wellness pillars you talked about
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they're all interrelated,
Yes,
you
they
know,
are. Yes, they
and
are.
they can hit you at different points. Like retirement is
Mhm.
just an example, and being a
Mhm.
grandmother is another example of another
Yes.
point where,
Yes.
you've got emotional wellness and et cetera to think about.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
And we're gonna add to that dimension, and we're gonna do something around technology because
Yes.
here's the thing, we don't
Mhm.
do I think as seniors, maybe I'll frame it that way. As seniors, there's a lot about technology that we do not know, and sometimes we are afraid to even try.
Yeah.
So I want to give my folks, my audience, an
Mhm.
opportunity to try some of these things with some guidance. Somebody
Yeah.
helping them through the way. But that's another, and I call it another dimension is technology wellness, which is not one of the one that was that was coined by Dr. Peggy Swarbrick, and I
Mhm.
loved it so much, and I thought, wow. I love the fact that she thought about all those different areas and that they're all interconnected, but they
Yeah.
all stand alone as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people we need to make sure that we are well in those areas because we don't. We just
Yeah.
assume that, okay, well, I got money, so I'm good. No, that's not necessarily true.
Not enough.
Because you still need a social, still need that emotional connection with someone or
Mm,
some people. So again, and then because of the age that we're living in, this digital age, there's so many things
yeah.
out here that we might not try because we're afraid to try. Oh, I know I heard my mom say, my mom is like 85, and she said, yeah, but I don't know what you, I might mess it up. Don't be afraid to mess it
Yeah.
up. It's your thing. Mess it
Yeah.
up if you want to. It's
Yeah.
okay. And
But you
you
know what?
know,
It's super important to think about that. Like that was one of
mhm,
our huge learning curves when we
mm.
started Twinagers too, because
Oh
we
yes.
learn all about how the platforms worked,
Yes.
what the algorithms were doing, what resonated, what didn't, how what kind of technology was best for creating our content. We had to
Ah,
learn all of that, right? The learning
uh-huh.
curve was steep.
Deep.
And
Yes,
I think
yes.
way steeper than we thought, but
Mhm.
I mean, we loved it, and I think, I say TikTok was a bit of a different beast, but I think a lot of people think TikTok is only for young and dancing videos and,
Right,
having
right,
fun, which there is that component, of course,
right.
but there's also such an audience there and so
Yes.
many people that are craving discussions. But to learn how that worked versus
Uh-huh,
Instagram versus Facebook versus
uh-huh.
setting up, like it was such a big technology lift for us.
Yes, yes, and I
Um,
know my daughter would say to us, "Mommy, you do not need to be on social media." I'm like, "But why not?"
mhm,
Your kids tell you again, they try to tell you what to
yeah,
do at a certain age. So she said, "No, you don't need to be on social media." I'm like, "But I do need to be on there for my business, right? I'm not trying to be on there
yeah,
personally.
yeah,
But in order to get there at all, you got to start a personal page, right?"
yeah,
So I had
yes,
to, and for a while she didn't like it, but then I said, okay, now I've got to do this for Grandma's 2.0. And I'm
yeah,
so glad that I did. And like you, I didn't know what
yeah.
I was doing.
I
Not
know.
one idea I did not know what I was doing. And I
Yeah,
can see, if I go now, if I would look back through my first post to this where we at right now, it would be like, wow,
oh,
so huge
yeah.
difference,
When
huge
we talk
difference.
about it going, our first ones were horrifying.
Right. And
But you
going
know what?
live, I'm like, no, I'm not going
No.
live.
Yeah.
Right.
But you just have to try. Like, that's
Yeah,
the
you just
thing.
have
You
to get
can't
in
be
there.
afraid to try. And
That's it.
I think it's also you have to find the fun in it.
Yes, yes,
If
yes.
you're not
And that I
finding the
have.
fun in it, then
Mhm,
it's not worth
mhm.
doing. It's just
Yes.
not.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that I have. I mean, I actually love doing it now. I
Yeah.
have somebody who helps me with it, but I really
Mhm.
love doing. And now I want to explore, and now I want to get into TikTok because we have not done TikTok yet, and I want to get into TikTok
Go
because
for it. I'll follow
I
you.
see, yes, I see the grand influencers on there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they are hilarious. So if you
Yeah.
do nothing else but make jokes and make fun of life and make fun of being, at the
Yeah.
age that you are, it's still content.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I used to have a job where I put content online, but it was more educational content.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I love doing that. And so that's what really got me a
Yeah.
little at ease. I said, well, it might have been, I used to do it for work, even though there was somebody else who actually added it. All we did was did the writing and
Yeah.
they added it and put everything around it and did whatever they needed to do to make it pop.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were doing. It was like magic to me. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting ready to do the Gorgeous Grandmas event.
Ooh, that
And
sounds
I
fun.
do this, yeah, I do this in the summer. And I'm doing one. So last year, let me tell you about the first. Last year in Charlotte, North Carolina, I did one. And we had about 10 grandmas who wanted to be a part of it. They get
Mhm.
to go out, promenade out a little bit. And they have two times where they come out. One time in whatever outfit they want to wear. And to whatever song. So it's like a fashion show, the first one. And then the second one they came out in evening wear. And then we crowned, a gorgeous grandma of Charlotte and a first runner up, second runner up, a third runner up. It was so much fun. We had judges. We had people who had done pageants before who were the judges. We had an MC. It was a lot of fun. And so we're going
Sounds
to do it a
great.
second time in September in
Mhm.
Charlotte. And then we did, and so this year we're doing one where I'm living in Hampton Roads. We're going to do one here in August. And so, yeah, I would love to know some things, maybe, with your expertise, you could probably tell me a whole lot of things that I should be doing. But, anything that you would do to help, I would really appreciate it.
Okay. Let me put
Because
my mind to that.
yeah, because I know that it could go beyond where it is, and I really want to support grandmas and what they're doing, and we
Yeah.
do this as a fundraiser to support those grandmas that are raising their grandkids because there's a
Oh, I
lot of
love
them out
that.
there. There are a lot of them out there, and
Yeah.
I had no idea until I started doing this work. To be honest, I started doing this work for, like what you said, just to kind of dispel those myths of women getting older and da 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 da. But or challenge, challenge the stereotypes or changing the narrative around that. But when
Yeah.
I got in there and I saw that there are a lot of women that don't have the luxury necessarily of
Mhm.
doing all this for fun. They have some
Yeah.
serious issue. They are raising kids the
Yeah.
second time around. So I started
Yeah.
doing some workshops around that and things like that. And I thought, okay, that's going to be what the events we do. That's what we're going to do and raise money to give to those organizations that are supporting them.
I
And so
love
that's
that.
what I've
That's
been doing.
really,
And I
yeah.
love, love, love the work. I love, love.
Well,
And I
and
just got a new organization that I'm sorry, and I'll stop.
that's okay.
I just got a new
Mhm.
organization yesterday. Somebody sent me something, said, this is an organization that you need to help with because they are looking for clothes for grandchildren of grandmas who are raised. I said, oh my God. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah. That's nice to have that that charitable
Yes, 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 yes. We
thing
are
for sure.
nonprofit, and I
Yeah.
did it that way because I think you get a lot more support from the community around things when
Yeah.
versus just doing it for fun or just doing it to make a profit
Well,
or whatever.
it's
And
it's
nothing wrong with that either, but
no, but it's dual. It's sort of that's a
yes,
win-win, right?
yes,
And that would
yes.
I would think would attract more interest in what you're doing. Like, I
Hmm.
think that that's a really smart thing to do to have that
Hmm.
that sort
Hmm.
of, layer of
Yes,
giving back because,
yes.
again, yeah.
and giving back to our peers, because
Yeah.
they're grandmas, and some of them are struggling out here, and
Mhm. I
and
love
like I
that.
said, there's a couple of organizations, and I try to do back to school because that's the time when they need support. At
Yeah.
Christmas, they need support, so those are 2 times that we try to make sure that whatever we do, and we can then
Mhm.
donate the proceeds to that organization, to those
Yeah.
organizations that do. And I found there's a lot of organizations that are working with them as well.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
yeah, so it's pretty exciting. It's very exciting. So
Yeah.
thank you, Cynthia, so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed getting to know you. I love your
Yeah.
spirit, your energy. I
Thank you.
agree with what you're saying 100%. And yes, let's just do this thing and take over and change the game and change the narrative for all grandmas out there.
I would love that. Thank you very
Yes,
much for having
yes.
me.
You are
Really
welcome. And
enjoyed.
let's stay in touch, please.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And tell your sister I will ask her to be on the show soon.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
You too.
This is the 2.0 Grandma. We are wrapping up another episode of the 2.0 Grandma podcast. We'll be back soon with another incredible story of an incredible story of another woman who is changing the game, breaking the molds, living life at their best and on their own terms, and who just happened to be a grandma. And if you're interested in sponsoring some of our events or claiming a spot on our podcast or being a vendor at one of our upcoming live events, please visit our website for more information. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And guess what? Do not miss the next episode. Until then, keep living your 2.0 best life.
Introducing a remarkable book, a tapestry of stories from atypical grandmas whose lives are a treasure trove of wisdom and inspiration. Stories of inspiration, life lessons, and wisdom from grandmas by Dr. Marsha McLean. This extraordinary book is now available on www.grandmas2.0.com and on Amazon.